The following story was written by a detective whom, after analysing video evidence, witness accounts, and the video claimed to have been watched, developed a story. This is that story. It was late at night, on a typical Tuesday evening. I was surfing the internet as I'd had 2 large coffees from my local coffee shop earlier that day, and was unable to sleep. After watching pointless YouTube video after pointless YouTube video, I came across a strange title in the related videos bar. None of the characters were of the English language. However, the shapes of the characters seemed to resemble words, although I couldn't quite decipher them. Curious, I clicked the video. I suddenly began to hear various creaks and groans coming from my house. I whirled around and grabbed a nearby baseball bat, ready for a fatal battle. To my surprise, there were no intruders in my house, nor any signs of a forced entry. Also, all the doors were locked. Figuring I was just going crazy, I shrugged my shoulders and lazily walked back to my room. I'd spent a lot of money on a high bandwidth connection, so I was perplexed that the video I'd clicked on had not loaded yet. I impatiently clicked the video 4 more times in an attempt to bring it up, after what seemed like an eternity of waiting. The page finally loaded. The background was black and completely hid all of the text, except for the username of the uploader and the description. They were both in crimson red. The username of the uploader was Nightmare Slumber, and the description read as such: "How ignorant of you! You are unaware of my demonic presence in your life. I will destroy you. I will destroy everything you stand for. Worthless coward. I'm always watching you, and soon you will come to live with me. Forever." Figuring this was just the simple idiocy of a simple 12-year-old, I did not heed the danger I was in. The video began with a picture of an abandoned mental asylum. A picture of an abandoned mental asylum. Later, I found out it to be Denby Asylum. The picture was a long, dark, and tattered corridor, extending past the viewer's visual feed. The left wall of the corridor had windows, separated by columns. The corridor was bathed in an eerie moonlight, only broken by the shadows of the columns. The darkness of the corridor was a pure black, the likes of which I'd never seen. I got the vibe that the asylum was hastily abandoned and never really cleaned up. For the first minute of the video, it was simply a still frame of a corridor. There was no sound, no movement. At approximately 1 minute 13 of the video, I noticed a slow but definite movement at the very end of the corridor. It had a human stance, but walked very unusually. Most noticeably, with its head pointed straight to the ground. The creature accelerated steadily as the video progressed, eventually breaking into a full run. The creature ran headfirst into the camera, knocking it over. Simultaneously, I heard a very loud bang at the door. There was only one, and it sounded like someone had just run into the door. I jumped up and grabbed the bat again, when I heard my computer make an error sound. The computer then blue screened, at that point saying it shut down for safety reasons. The screen then proceeded to make a note of the fact that an unknown hacker had been obtaining my information and my whereabouts. My antivirus program ran a trace of the hacker's IP address and came back with a northern city in Wales. Specifically, the hack had been made from an abandoned mental asylum. Then, the power went out. At this point, I became extremely intimidated. My eyes welled up with water. My breath accelerated. I began to hear someone groaning in pain outside the door. I knew it was a mistake to go look, but I decided to do so anyway. When I glanced through the peephole, there was nobody outside the door. I could still hear the groaning though. No way in hell was I opening that door. I flew into a panic attack and immediately attempted to contact the police. However, I simply got a busy tone on both the landline and my cell phone. I ran back up to my computer to see if I could hook it up to a generator to ask for help. When I noticed that the computer screen was still on. In giant red text upon the black screen, it read, "Go to sleep." A piercing scream then rang out. It sounded like someone was dying. I raced to the kitchen and drew 2 knives out the drawer. This was real. This was actually happening. The screams got louder and more desperate. Under the screams, I began to hear the faint but distinct, hysterical laughter. I ran about the house, trying to figure out what was going on. I then heard a sobbing coming from the closet near my computer room. My skin ran cold as I grasped the doorknob. It was cold to the touch. I should have said something before opening the door, but I didn't have the common sense to do so. I whipped the door open to see a young girl, dead and bloody, crumpled in a heap in my closet. Her stomach had been ripped open and her entrails pulled out. She was entirely naked and coated completely in blood. The wall suddenly illuminated with a red light. I noticed that something was written in blood on the wall. "You should have heeded the warning. Time to go to sleep." I whirled around and saw the figure in the video, head down and everything. I froze in fear. With one sudden movement, almost as if I was watching a video that had skipped a few frames, the figure twisted its head and looked at me. Then everything went black. Detective's note. The victim's body was found in a similar state to that of the young girl in the closet. Despite numerous blood tests, we could not identify the girl. In fact, it was due to the lack of missing persons reports, the fact that no one had come forward to claim her remains, or tried to solve the case of the murder, and because no blood test matched anyone we tested, it seemed like the girl never really existed. We have confirmed that the hacking came from an abandoned mental hospital. However, there is no explanation as to how this was timed so close together. We have issued an arrest warrant, but no officer wants to enter the ruins in fear of his or her life. The only break we got was a witness sighting of an extremely unusual and frightening creature running into the hospital a few days later. From witness testimony, we noticed a shocking similarity between the face of the deranged mental hospital inhabitant and the following image taken from a site filled with horror stories with the words "Go to sleep" captioned above. Here is the image. Numerous murders like this have occurred since, and every single one of the victims has been noted to watch the video a few minutes before the homicide is committed. YouTube officials have tried to remove this video. However, every moderator that tries ends up getting brutally murdered. The case is still unsolved. Detectives Note 2. After further researching the case, a few discoveries have been made. First, while I have been unable to find the source of the video, last-minute accounts of the killer's victims have proved enough descriptive evidence to be able to locate the image that was used in the background for the video. Although this is a JPEG image, and thus by nature is a still image, rumour has it that if you stare into the picture long enough, the image begins to twist and contort. Continue staring and you can see a creature beginning to run towards the camera. No one has watched the image long enough to see the creature come close, but enough visual evidence is there to assume that this is the same person seen in the video. The image can be found on screen. Please do not view it for too long. Your life may be at risk. In addition, I have been searching for more information regarding the killer. To my horror, I found a set of stories online regarding one Jeff the Killer. The stories dictate a serial killer who develops his psychopathic tendencies at the onset of his teenage years, eventually killing everybody in his immediate family. The most shocking aspect of the story is that Jeff killed his victims in the same brutal way as seen with the Denby Asylum killer, even going to the extent of both killers communicating "go to sleep" before murdering their victims. The most frightening aspect, however, is that the image provided for Jeff the Killer is the exact same image provided by the witness for the Denby Asylum killer, leading investigators to believe that they are in fact the same person. For further reading, simply search Jeff the Killer online and read at your own risk. The most terrifying fact of all, though, lies in my personal experience. After writing this report, I heard strange sounds throughout my home. Figuring it was nothing, I continued doing research on Jeff. The banging noises got louder and louder. Maybe a bird had flown into my window and it was injured. As I stepped to my door, however, I noticed movement in the window. I immediately attempted to phone the police, but I got a busy signal. Concerned, I put the phone down and looked towards the door, only to see Jeff staring directly at me with those cold, dead eyes and that horrific, disfigured face. His smile was the most eerie thing I had ever seen. I immediately pulled out my gun and began shooting. Luckily, Jeff took off into the night. Now, I know I'm in danger, so I've set up a constant surveillance around my home to protect myself. I still see bright flashes of light and hear banging sounds around my home, along with the rare but still horrifying laughter of which only a true psychotic serial killer can provide. I don't know how much longer it will be until we catch him. I hope it's soon, but if he keeps making these mistakes, then we'll have a solid identity and an airtight case. I feel we're on the brink of taking him in. I keep hearing laughter and banging sounds that are escalating in volume. Also, I'm seeing odd orbs of light in the distance. It's okay, I've radioed fellow police to the scene, but the radio signal has gone dead. The light is getting closer but it's still... Okay, I've got my gun ready. It's him. I can see his face. It's time to... Hello everyone. My name is Jeff. I don't like that this story's being published, but oh well. It's not like any of you could catch a demon of my caliber. Obviously, that detective is now dead. I had to kill him, of course. The journal is over, and quite hilarious because in viewing this document, I have logged every single one of your IP addresses and know exactly where you are. For example, one of you works at a cousin's on Dextrel Boulevard, and one of you lives in Burbank. One of you lives on East Avenue. One of you goes to university and has a roommate named Becky. One of you is going to summer school. One of you is quite the whiz at piano. The list... the list goes on and on. I know where you work. I know your friends. I know your family. I know your loved ones. I know everything. Soon, all of that will be taken from you. Taken by me. Upon even reading this message, you should start hearing, I don't know, odd noises. Feel a sense of fear and dysphoria wash over you. You'll become anxious and frantic for no logical reason. The banging isn't the building you reside in. It's something else. Something quite sinister. Something that wants your blood. If I don't get you, I will get those you love and care about. You. You're really scared by this, aren't you? Shivering in your chair. And you. You have a girlfriend named Jessica. Let me tell you something. She's mine. You aren't safe. I think it's time for you to go to sleep. I'll be in shortly. Sincerely, one Jeffrey the Killer.